This is NBS Live at 9 with Victoria Sibia, Samson Kasumba, and Kanari Mugume.
Hello, here we are. Let's talk about crime. It is the Uganda Police report that has told us that there is a 10.2% reduction in the crime for the period of 2025, with 196,405 cases recorded compared to 218,715 in 2024, which is the year before. Now, despite this decline, Uganda Police notes that the persistence of crimes such as domestic violence, land-related disputes, and cybercrime continues to exist. The findings were announced during the release of the 2025 annual crime report at police headquarters in Naguru. That's very much in Kampala.
Police have registered a landmark achievement in the fight against crime, with the 2025 crime report putting it at 10.2% reduction. According to the Inspector General of Police, Abbas Byakagaba, the reduction in crime is attributed to the sub-county policing model and improved investigative capacity, among other interventions.
The implementation of sub-county policing model is giving the Uganda Police Force mileage over crime. This has enabled the Uganda Police Force to bring policing services closer to the communities.
The Traffic and Road Safety Directorate registered a notable 24.4% decrease, while the Fire and Rescue Services reported a 17.9% reduction in incidents. Despite these achievements, police highlighted persistent crime trends such as cyber-enabled offences, domestic violence and organised criminal activity.
We registered unique accidents, and notable one was the Kiriandongo
Fantastic there for Abbas Byakagaba, the Inspector General of Uganda Police Force. Many of us would call him a Funde. Now, it's got to be noted that in 2025, there was a 10.2% decrease in the volume of crimes reported to the Uganda Police Force, from 218,715 cases registered in 2024 to 196,405, as has been noted there. Now, cases submitted to the DPP, 115,301, cases taken to court, 79,291, persons convicted, you're looking at the figure of 31,732, and cases with conviction, 24,899. Total cases we're talking on trial, you're looking at 43,551, and cases that were dismissed are only 9,783, if only, is what we can use there. Now, cases with acquittals, you're talking 1,058 cases, and cases under inquiry, 77,298. Is mine still on that list? I am not so sure. Now, cases not proceeded with is also another figure there. Now, crimes reported to police, source, of course, as you know already, is the annual crime report. That is in 2024. In 2025, there is a 10.2% decrease. That's not a miracle. That is the Uganda Police doing some work there to bring those figures down. And if you may, cheers to the Uganda Police Force. We would like to see this number growing ever so bigger, if you may, and will. And those are some of the figures. And then political and electoral offences, we are going to 2024 and then 2025. That's where there is a huge gap. There were only 105 in 2024, And in 2025, they're 800. You got to understand that this is an election year, and that's a year before the election year, so that can be explained right there and then, if you may. Then land cases, this continue to be very stubborn, and they continue to be a huge number, maybe population growth, while the land space is not growing. 2024, 397. 2025, 665. What will happen in another 10 years when the population even grows bigger? There is some work to do there as far as land cases are concerned. I'm not alone in this. My colleague Kanor Mogube, an expert in, presenting these things in technology. I hand over to the man of techie.
All right, let's take a look at the theft cases that registered in the different years. We're doing a comparison of 2022, 2023, 2024, and 2025. But we can see that there's been a reduction of about 8.4% right from 2024 to 2025. Now, let's go to assault. There is still even a decrease right there. Assault, we're talking from 29,580 to 26,366. You can still see that indeed there was a reduction out there on just 10.8% reduction right there as we talk from the 2024 to 2025. Let's take a look at other cases. We take a look at sex-related offenses, and also even then from 2024 to 2025 we can see that there's been a reduction of about 12.6% right there. And as you can see, now let's go to domestic violence. Domestic violence, there's also been a reduction of about 12.2% from 2024 to 2025. We are talking a figure of a drop from 14,073 to 12,361. That is the gap there. We're talking 12.2% right there. That is how things are looking like. Samson.
Thank you very much, Kanari. Now, let's talk about breakings. When we're talking breakings, we're not talking breaking news. We're talking people breaking in. Now, we're talking a total of 11,818 cases reported to the police, and it's very much in that crime report. And that is in comparison to 13,511 in 2024, giving a 12.5% decrease as far as breakings are concerned. Then threats violence. People all over this place saying, Njakuta, or I will do this and that. Now, by the end of 2025, a total of 8,848 cases of threatening violence were reported to the police compared to 10,160 in 2024, giving again a decrease, as you could see on your screen, of 12.9%. Now, I'm very passionate about this as a parent. Child-related offenses, now in 2025, a total of 8,064 cases constituted child-related offenses, indicating a 14.3% decrease compared to 9,408 cases reported in 2024. Then robberies, a total of 7,863 cases were reported of robberies, and this is again to the police in 2025. Now compare that with 8,163 in 2024, giving a 7.3% decrease there. Now we will still be here, but that's right after this. Let's get into numbers that definitely matter. Now, according to the 2025 annual crime report, cases of mobile phone theft have dropped 7,330 that were reported in 2024, and we are now talking 5,783 in 2025. The report indicates that most of these cases occurred as a result of snatching a phone from an unsuspected member of the public. But let us take a look at the highest number of mobile phone theft, regions leading in the theft of mobile phones. And Kampala South registered the highest number of mobile phone thefts with 700 695 cases, followed by Kampala Metropolitan North with 678 cases, as you can see. Then KMP, that's Kampala Metropolitan East, 478. Rizi, that's very much in Ankole, 324. Albertine South, 304. Busoga East, nobody's stealing phones in Busoga that much. Maybe they are not there in number after all, 204. Then West Nile, 180. Wamala, 192. And then Chira, 151. The safest place, according to this, you want to be in Chira if you have a mobile phone. Kawalaga Division, 191. Old Kampala, 184. CPS Kampala Division, 178. Jinja Road Division, 163. Hoima Central, 150. And Katwe. You would be surprised if you had a phone, go to Katwe. You are probably more safer there than in some other places. And these are very interesting numbers when you think about them. But for now, I guess we want to throw perspective on this, so we will be joined by private investigator Fred Egesa to weigh in on the annual crime report of the Uganda Police Force. And one of the questions I'd like to ask him is what, in his view, could have been the reason for the decline. Mr. Egesa, police is reporting a 10-point-something% reduction in crime. It's an election year and all. What could be some of the reasons for this drop in crime? Are Ugandans just fed up of crime?
Of course, there should be, I think, two main reasons. One, we are looking at the police register. When you talk about cases registered, what about cases that stop at LCs? What about cases that are handled under RDC? What about cases that are handled in several other offices that are not police connected? And then also, we have also to look at how easy do policemen also receive the complaints?
Okay.
There are areas in life where someone goes to, like land cases. Sometimes police do not register land cases. They will tell you to first go to the RDC. So if we are talking about the police report, we should know, we should know the system used to collect this information.
Very, very interesting. Now, land disputes, domestic violence, and cybercrime continue to be prevalent in crime. What could be done to bring this down?
Of course, one, we still have a very big problem because we are dealing with a force of less than 60,000 police officers policing a population of over 49 million people. So, meaning that every policeman has to police over 1,000 people or more. Or maybe 10,000, you do the mathematics. Meaning that even, of course, as much crime will go up just because the system, the government has not built enough capacity or given, policing it should be kind of commensurate to the police should be equal to the population.
Absolutely.
But now we're having a problem whereby the police is so thin on the ground, despite the good work they are doing. They are very, very thin on the ground. Two, they are paid very poorly. A policeman, like a constable or maybe an inspector of police, gets like less than 1 million shillings, and you expect him to do all the good things while his children are starving. So, to me, they are trying their level best, but they are not given the capacity because of facilitation and several other things.
Very interesting. You'd expect that communities would work together to make sure that they reduce crime happening within their communities. In some cases, you have people hiring private security guards, hiring private investigators like yourself. Do you think community policing has helped in reducing crime? Or do you even think it is working well?
Community policing may target what we call thuggery, but it does not touch white collar, it does not touch land grabbing, because this is done by the middle class. So if we think that crime means thuggery, then we are very wrong. There is a lot, but we lose much more money through white-collar crime, through frauds and so many other things. But people, we tend to think that these boys on the streets are the reason why there is the crime should be talked about. But of course, we should also know that somehow, somewhere, because of poor planning, we have made these young boys to have to start committing what we call crimes of necessity, whereby they are supposed to survive. If they don't commit crimes, they don't survive. So if the police doesn't come up with why there is crime, or why this crime is going up, or why this crime is going down, it will be a problem. Because today, you find that, like now, we're going to Easter, several boys have been rounded up there in cells to say, because the middle class should have a peaceful Easter. But that doesn't mean that they will even convict, they'll prosecute and convict them. So you see that several wrong things, we are still doing things the wrong way.
Very interesting. Cybercrime continues to persist even after big campaigns like we had here, Better State, Be Better. I mean, a week ago, somebody called me claiming to be a UPDF general under distress, and they needed 150,000. I was very steady. How can we protect ourselves from the avalanche of cybercrime?
With cybercrime, of course, it is becoming lucrative. It is now, crime is also business. If there was a way, maybe it could be taxed. Crime is business. You have to know that. So in one or the other, crime is just, cybercrime is a kind of a new trend of the crime, as part of the crime business. So you don't even think about it going down. We have to train more people, but at the same time, someone may pick money from you when he's not in Uganda, and whereby even the Uganda system cannot find him anywhere. So crime is an international system.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gesa, for your thoughts in there. For a moment, I wasn't very sure figured out. A UPDF general would not be looking for a budget of 2026-2027, accounting so far to shillings 84.2 trillion, has thrown chills down many earnings. Political actors and economists warn that if the budget is only for aesthetics, it could plunge the country into more indebtedness.
As proposed to the NRM caucus, the fiscal year 2026-2027 budget for Uganda is estimated at 825 million taxpayers, of which only 20% paid their taxes to the tax body. Other sources are expected in borrowing and grants.
To now 84.206 trillion, this is about 11.6.
Financing this budget, government is expected to present new tax proposals to aid the revenues, and among those heading at 126 trillion, averaging every Ugandan at 2.8 million. Member of the Budget Committee and Shadow Finance Minister Ibrahim Semjunganda explains that the estimated revenues and budget are a misconception, but indicates the possibility of it growing higher.
First deal with, otherwise you don't have money to finance this budget. It's unrealistic.
Yes, Mukunda and Semju explains that while over 10 trillion is paid in interest to the accumulated loans, he explains that this will compromise social services.
They are proposing two things: heavy borrowing and then aggressive taxation. These things have an implication on the economy.
At the end of the day is that you are likely actually to squeeze further the private sector and the individuals.
Eddie Kwizera explains that unless Uganda can raise at least 20 trillion per quarter, the budget might end up only financing salaries and short of development budget.
But the biggest problem is that as much as we even don't have much revenue, but those who get tax waivers also are many.
Why is government taxing the same things? Because you are taxing the same product that should have been left. Why? Because in my understanding is that government inability to look for other avenues that require an extra effort.
This warned that the trend of borrowing locally is detrimental to the economy. As of today, Uganda's domestic debt stands at 68.85 trillion shillings.
We might be heading to Easter, but this yellow has nothing to do with the Catholic Church, everything to do with the NRM. Now, the national budget for the 2026-2027 financial year of 84 trillion shillings is looked at as the magic bullet expected to deliver the NRM's ambitious manifesto promise to the people of Uganda. But as the NRM expresses confidence in delivering its ambitious manifesto, there are growing concerns over the rising public debt, limited fiscal space and questionable spending priorities, raising broader questions around the gap between political commitments and economic realities. Let's get into this.
The National Resistance Movement remains confident that its ambitious manifesto will be delivered through the forthcoming budget, positioning its agenda as both structured and achievable. Built on key pillars including economic growth, infrastructure development, human capital advancement, democratic governance and regional integration, the party argues that its priorities are already embedded within the country's fiscal framework.
We have aspirations and plans based on the people's desires.
According to Dombo, the manifesto is deliberately sequenced into short, medium and long-term targets with immediate focus placed on science and innovation, enhancement of teachers' salaries, infrastructure expansion, restocking programs in Acholi and Teso, and broader human capital development.
When you look at this year, the priorities of government are on scientific innovations, to ensure that manufacturing and innovations are supported in order to create jobs. The AFCON, because that one is an international obligation where government has made a commitment and we must do it, is that there must be restocking in the areas of Teso, Acholi.
However, economists and policy analysts offer a more cautious assessment. While acknowledging the apparent alignment between the manifesto and the budget, they question the adequacy and sustainability of the resources required to finance such an expansive.
Two things will happen. Taxes will increase, but also government borrowing will also increase.
They have just released the Corruption Perception Index, and we've not performed any way better than the previous years. So the rate of corruption is still so high to the extent that sometimes when you look at the sort of project implementation, you find that
priorities, noting that portions of the budget appear misaligned with the immediate needs of citizens, with resources directed towards what they describe as low impact and non-essential expenditure.
In terms of our expenditures, in terms of our priorities, I think that we still have a lot of unnecessary expenditures.
There are very many things government has invested in that could wait.
In response, experts are now calling for tighter fiscal discipline, a clear reprioritization of government spending, and a more strategic borrowing approach focused on affordable, long-term financing.
I think that there are some things in the budget that ideally in the first place should not be there.
I think we need to set priorities.
We have had a lot of leakage within the national budget. And once the leakage is minimized and priorities are handled better, then over the years,
Let's talk dilemmas here. Now, I've got even to whisper. Now, there's a dilemma. Economists and politicians fear that the 2026-2027 financial year budget priorities totaling to 84 trillion shillings could leave a lot of uncertainties, and these uncertainties could then trigger an economic downturn. Critics argue that heavy investment in peace and security in the region, roads, electricity, and railway development and preparations for AFCON, that's the Cup of Nations of Africa, could either boost or strain the economy. They are now calling for a cut in the proposed budget, especially around areas they say could or may be immediately economically viable, leaving those on the side, including regional security spending and what they describe as excessive public expenditure and administration costs.
Members of Parliament are getting a lot of money. We must also get. I've been persuading them many times, you wait. But now it is becoming a problem now. So this time, even this time, I wanted to say Mulinde Ko, but many of my people said no, it will destabilize the country. So I said, okay, let's move.
Pending parliamentary approval of the 2026-2027 budget priorities with continued investment in peace and security, road, electricity infrastructure, rail development, preparations for AFCON 2027, and promotion of scientific innovation to accelerate socio-economic transformation is what the next financial year budget will focus on. However, this comes amid its projection that the government will collect about 44 trillion shillings in revenue, a figure economists say is insufficient against the country's rising public debt, estimated at over 126 trillion shillings. Economists including Godfrey Ekanya and Dennis Sekavira want that the budget's external commitment, such as involvement in regional security operations in Sudan, Somalia, and the Democratic Republic of Congo, could instead deepen fiscal pressure.
The government took a decision to support regional countries, but this drains as much as we get support from development partners, but not everywhere.
I think we need to focus all our energies on where central decisions are made about the governance of this country, where we were, where we are, and where we ought to be.
The experts also point to Uganda's historical high public administration cost, warning that the trend is being repeated.
That is a subject we need to revisit. How do you scale down the government size so that you are able to cut the budget automatically?
Government, however, projects about 2.2 trillion shillings in oil revenue as part of the efforts to finance the budget. But analysts caution that even this anticipated oil income may come with unintended consequences.
NSF has been able to give the members interest rate of 13%. Now, if this year we get 1.7 trillion shillings from the first oil, next year we could easily get 5 trillion shillings to support the budget. Where will NSF invest to maintain the interest rate of 13% per annum?
Development economist Fred Muhumuza says government should reconsider its spending priorities.
Now, if you don't take these decisions early, they drive your budget. Now that they have already been taken as decisions, the budget doesn't have an option, because you have said the salary increment for these categories is 1st of July 2026. Government will have to do a balancing act to these proposals during implementation to say, if I don't find the revenue, should I borrow? Because this is something I must spend on.
Now, I do understand compassionately that some of us dropped out of mathematics class in P3. So when it comes to budget season, we need people who went all the way to help us understand these things. This is why I'm bringing in Paul Omara, a member of parliament for Otuke, to explain to you, me, and other people in this, to expand the tax base beyond just 5 million of us involved in this. And of course, you've got to consider sort of meager contribution of the informal sector to these kinds of things.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think one of the first things that we must appreciate is that the government of Uganda has achieved a tremendous effort in maintaining a stable macroeconomic environment through a coordinated monetary and fiscal policies, regardless of sometimes intermittent market exuberance. But to be specific on what you've said is that government does not have money. It's the people, the private sector, which has money. So first of all, you make sure that the economy is stable, which they have managed to achieve. And secondly, they need to create efficiency in government, especially, for example, we have traffic jams everywhere. And we have made this case before that to increase the velocity of circulation of money, for URA to collect more revenue, we need to make sure that we open up major roads, especially coming into the business center, so that the private sector can trade easily and quickly so that government can collect more money. It's building basic and more strategic infrastructure.
We have a rising public debt. So what can government do about it, as well as making sure that debt servicing does not crowd the budget and affect other areas of our economy?
It is a rather dim situation, Samson, because at the current moment, our debt position is 115 trillion shillings. And out of that, 60 trillion is domestic debt, and 55 is foreign debt. And out of the projected revenue, where URA would like to collect 44 trillion shillings, 32 trillion out of that will go towards servicing debt, which means that out of that 14 trillion is interest component alone. So because we have not been able to get concessionary loans, we have now tended to fund our budget by collecting money from domestic sources. So the best solution is to quickly stabilize our budget ceiling. 2, they pay off the what we call debt runovers. This money that we get from commercial banks and we keep rolling them year on year, we should be able to pay that off, because that is the single item that is contributing majorly to our debt position, especially the interest component. As I've said, 14 trillion of the 32 trillion is basically interest. So a moment you cut down on domestic debt, which is now the highest, it's more than 50% of our national debt. So we need to pay most of our domestic debt, pay off our debt rollovers, so that the money that URA collects can now go towards investment, strategic investment, and that is the only way we can actually increase the fiscal space.
For the benefit of our viewers, let me use an illustration here. It's one thing saying that in my family or yours, the budget is 300 billion. But what is more important is how it is spent. If you're going to go, a chunk of it, daddy wants to marry another wife, a chunk of it, drinking out with his friends, another chunk, borrowing a car. So in a sense, the 84 trillion, what can government do not to spend it like that hypothetical figure? Put it in places where it's not just being wasted, but has a high return on investment. Does that illustration work?
Yeah, the president is the executive authority, and he has prioritized basically 4 key strategic areas. Number 1 is national security and defense, which will take away 9.7 trillion. The second component, of course, is what we call human capital development, which will take 11 trillion shillings. And the key one, which I've just talked about, is road infrastructure. It will take almost 7 trillion shillings. And then later on, others would follow. So given the fact that we have a basically limited resource envelope, it's very difficult to do everything at a go. So you really need to prioritize and make sure that this money goes into key areas that will help the economy to generate. And one of the areas which they are tackling is basically wealth creation and private sector development. So if we enable the private sector to grow and we create wealth amongst the population, and we have been doing under the PDM, Emyoga, and other elements, it will help the economy to grow, and in the consequent year, we would be able to reap substantial evidence out of the growth of the GDP and also tax revenues.
Of course, you and I know that after the 84 trillion, we will come back to ask for more money like we normally do. What's the term they usually use when they're asking for more?
It's called a supplementary expenditure
there you go.
Appropriation bill. But what we want to request the Minister of Finance this time to do, the PSST normally calls it a budget games. Yeah. But I think what we want is actually budget discipline, so that we stick to the budget itself other than bringing other issues under supplementary appropriation bill.
You've got a feel for Ramadan Gobi. That's a very difficult job. And of course, he also does want to grow the economy tenfold. I also want to get this bulletin tenfold, but that's right after this.
More to come, brought to you by
Blended pure vegetable cooking oil, second best to a mother's love.
Citizens Movement is in celebration mood. They took their celebrations down south, and that's very much in South Africa. That story is coming right after this very break. You're still watching NBS Live at 1. I also belong to a group that will be celebrating big this year.
New Tusker Premium Cider. Crisp, delicious apples crushed and blended to create a unique taste explosion.
There's a new way to keep your breath fresh all day. Introducing Movit All Day Toothpaste, meant to give you powerful night gum defense and teeth whitening. The charcoal flavor gives you deep cleansing and power stain removal. And the herbal delivers natural strength for healthy, confident smiles. Choose Movit All Day Toothpaste and enjoy freshness all day.
At the heart of Uganda's modern furniture industry stands Hwansung. Experience the white and black metal high glossy kitchen, a reflection of modern elegance built to last. Every detail is designed for convenience, from smooth sliding drawers to integrated dustbin accessories that keep your space spotless. Our flush doors bring nature's warmth into your home, handcrafted to perfection, with a finish that speaks of heritage and strength. Our TV stands and lobby lounge partitions bring beauty into every home. Hwansung makes a difference.
Buy genuine Decra roofing tiles, the original stone-coated alu zinc steel roofing system from New Zealand. Choose from Heritage, Milano, Shingle, Shake and Classic profiles with a variety of colors and a 50-year warranty. Only available at Depot Uganda. Telephone 0776 898 888 or 0758 853 285. Depot Uganda. Tried, tested and trusted.
Take a look around and you'll see everything can be reimagined. Everything rough can be smooth. Everything old can be fresh. Everything can be made vibrant and full of attitude. The world is what you make it. So why not make it yours? Guinness Smooth. Make it yours.
There is a new era of elegance and it begins at your event. At Peno Events, we have upgraded with fresh, modern, stylish event pieces designed to transform any space into a masterpiece. From luxury tents to elegant furniture to premium mobile washrooms, hand wash stations, lounge sets, parasols, wooden chairs, modern chair set, banquet setup. Peno Events. Safe, reliable, stylish. Book now.
It's our mission to secure your money.
Protecting your money is as important as earning it. It is for this reason that the Deposit Protection Fund of Uganda, DPF, was established by the government of Uganda to provide deposit protection to customers of regulated financial institutions. In the unlikely event that your commercial bank, credit institution, or microfinance deposit-taking institution fails, the DPF will pay you up to 10 million Uganda shillings. Keep your personal information such as national identification number, mobile phone, or an alternative bank account updated with your banker. Terms and conditions apply. For more information, contact DPF at Aha Towers, Plot 7 Lodell Road, Kampala. Call 0312 206 400 or visit our website at www.dpf.or.ug.
We protect your money. Protection Fund of Uganda.
Welcome back. Ugandans living in the diaspora have been urged to prioritize wealth creation and remain aligned to the principles of the national resistance movement as part of efforts to advance socio-economic transformation. The call was made in a message from President-elect Yoweri Museveni, delivered by the party Secretary General Richard Todwong during a victory party and circle launch at the Cape Town International Convention Centre.
The Cape Town International Convention Center was filled with supporters of the National Resistance Movement in South Africa, celebrating the re-election of President-elect Yoweri Museveni for the 2026-2031 term. The event, convened by the Presidential Advisor on Trade, Philip Kakuru, drew delegates from Uganda and the diaspora, with Richard Todwong representing the party chairman. During the celebrations, members also launched a multi-billion shilling circle aimed at boosting financial empowerment among Ugandans abroad. In his message, Museveni urged the diaspora to engage in income-generating activities as a pathway out of poverty and to take advantage of the circle. He further called on members to uphold the NRM's core principles of patriotism, Pan-Africanism, and socio-economic transformation, while appreciating their continued support.
It's been a long day. Thank your neighbor and tell him or her that welcome to the celebration.
Uganda's High Commissioner to South Africa, Paul Amoru, praised the strong bilateral relations between Uganda and South Africa, noting the NRM manifesto's focus on economic and commercial diplomacy.
Because we believe it's not enough to just celebrate good relations if it's not translating into new businesses, into new opportunities, into new travels, and so on and so forth. So the High Commission continues to position Uganda as a prime investment destination, strategically located at the center of East African community.
He, however, cautioned against internal divisions, urging members to prioritize unity and shared goals.
With renewed unity, discipline and hard work, the Ugandan diaspora stands ready to play a frontline role in realizing the bold vision of the 2026-2031 NRM manifesto.
The presidential advisor and NRM patron in South Africa, Philip Kakuru, commended the diaspora for their mobilization and commitment, calling for continued cohesion. The event, held under the theme celebrating NRM and President Museveni's victory, advancing the 2026-2031 NRM manifesto, drew wide participation with calls to strengthen party structures and unity.
The Ministry of Local Government has presented to Parliament its ministerial policy statement for the financial year 2026-2027, totaling 7.498 trillion Ugandan shillings. According to the Minister for Local Government, Raphael Magezi, the allocation represents a 17.3% increase from the financial year 2025-2026 approved budget and reflects government's continued commitment to strengthen decentralization and ensuring effective, equitable service delivery across all local governments.
Officials from the Ministry of Local Government, led by the Minister Raphael Magezi and Permanent Secretary Ben Kumumanya, appeared before the Local Government and Public Accounts Committee of Parliament, presenting its ministerial policy statement totaling to 7.498 trillion shillings for the financial year 2026-2027.
This is because there is an additional wage grant. I talked of increasing the salaries, enhancing the salaries of the teachers and so on. There is an additional grant of 718 billion.
Of the 7.498 trillion shillings, 319.418 billion shillings is for the Ministry of Local Government Headquarters, 22.200 billion shillings is for the Local Government Finance Commission, and 7.165 billion shillings is for the local governments across the country.
So we are here to present to you our request under Ministry of Local Government, 418 billion. The Local Government Finance Commission, 22.2 billion, and all local governments of Uganda, 7.165 billion. Total sector budget request is 7.498 billion.
In this budget, 47 billion shillings has been provided to procure new vehicles for the chief administrative officers and city clerks and local town clerks, 25 billion shillings for the counterpart funding or the National Oilseed Project, 3 billion shillings to finance the market vendor management system, The Permanent Secretary also noted that 13.2 billion shillings has been provided to facilitate the induction of local government elected leaders in the financial year 2026-2027, 6.7 billion shillings to facilitate technical inspection and monitoring of government programs and projects in local governments, and 6.6 billion shillings to cover gratitude expenses, shortfall for staff scheduled to retire in 2026-2027, and 1.2 billion shillings to cover pension shortfall in the financial year 2026-2027.
6 billion to cover gratuity expenses shortfall for the ministry staff scheduled to retire in 2026-27, and 1.2 billion to cover pension shortfall. And then under geo development, additional 47 billion has been provided. 32 billion for the procurement of vehicles for chief administrative officers and town clerks. We also thank the committee. This has been a matter we have tabled several times.
The ministry, however, expressed concern that some of their priorities have been excluded from funding, which include 25 billion shillings required for the construction of the new headquarters for the displaced sub-counties and town councils, 7 billion for the physical development planning in urban local governments, and 2.9 billion shillings for the support of local government public accounts committees.
The local government minister, Raphael Magezi, has directed district and city accounting officers to report on vehicles and motorcycles given to political leaders. This was after the vice chairperson of the Local Government and Public Service Committee of Parliament, Pius Wakabi, told members that some politicians who recently lost elections are misusing the government fleet. Magezi says these vehicles and motorcycles are not personal, warning those abusing government assets.
We have got reports. I don't know whether it was a good timing to give out these vehicles when people are already in campaigns, when the serving leaders are already in campaign, when the term is almost over. We have got reports that some unpatriotic leaders who lost the election, they are misusing these vehicles. So I don't know what is how we're going to help us to ensure that these cars are being handed over to the incoming leaders in a good mechanical condition.
We've got reports, some have already crashed, others are being mishandled. Now we came out clearly in writing. The PS wrote to every accounting officer in the local government, the 176 of them. These vehicles were not supposed to be used for campaign. In any case, that is under the electoral law. Any candidate using a public facility for campaign, you're supposed to be disqualified. Secondly, the vehicles are supposed to be driven by official drivers of the district, not a chairperson, not a mayor. And thirdly, we still maintain the right of recall of a vehicle which is being misused, mishandled. So, Mr. PS, you've heard the concern. I think we better task now the accounting officers to give us a report on the status of each vehicle.
The Minister for Local Government, Raphael Magezi, has told the Parliamentary Committee on Local Government and Public Service that LC1 elections will be held between March and April, pending funding. Magezi says out of their engagement with the Ministry of Finance, sourcing funds is underway, after which the Electoral Commission will release the electoral roadmap.
Expected that maybe you do talk about as to when we shall have LC1 elections, because LC1 chairpersons are very important when it comes to service delivery to the last person.
Cabinet, guided by His Excellency the President, has agreed that the election should be held between March and April, in any case before the swearing in of the newly elected President and members of Parliament. At the moment, the matter is between Finance and Electoral Commission. I think they must be organizing, mobilizing the resources. We had a chat with the Minister of Finance this morning. They have confirmed that. We'll continue and have the elections.
Is the very response that was given to Parliament over this very matter of LC1 elections. And he is now giving us the same. after tomorrow we shall be in April, because they told us by end of April, by.
And what I'm giving is the position of cabinet. This committee has a mandate, and you have a right to summon the Minister of Finance, to summon the Chairperson Electoral Commission. I'm in charge of policy. The financing issues are with finance. The execution issue is with the Electoral Commission. So I want to believe that, yes, I totally agree, this is extremely important. And we need these elections. Now, can they be held within April? That is for the Electoral Commission.
Feedback brought to you by.
They are designed to support your growth. Visit absa.co.ug for personal loans that help where it matters. ABSA, your story matters.
All right, let's take a look at your feedback on our opinion question. Police registers a decline in crime rates in 2025. How can the police sustain strides in the fight against crime? Hashtag NBS Live at 9. First comment from the Rainmaker says, maintain the deployment and carry out routine operations, engage with the Wananchi and also bring back conclusive reports and findings on the state investigations as it shows thoroughness of the force. Vidi Godfrey says they should carry on with the sub-county policing model as it could yield good results in the long run. In addition, police should establish a working relationship with the civilians in the communities who can easily avail relevant security information to the security officers. Social Spotlight, what are your leaders saying online? Let's begin with AIGP retired Hassan Kasinje. Police Annual Crime Report, Tom Magambo, thank you so much. Much of the crime is on the decline due to increased professionalism, teamwork with other directorates and relevant agencies, proactive policing, intelligence and good leadership. God will reward you for us. Sante Sana, that's Hassan Kasinje. And Office of the Prime Minister Robin Anabanja delivered the keynote address in the United States over the weekend. She emphasized the need for Africa to define its own development path, shape global narratives, and lead in areas where it holds a natural advantage. The Speaker, Anita Netamong, says we spent the remainder of the day in Lalogi, the ultimate resting place of Mzee Nathan Okori, in preparation for his funeral tomorrow. We also had the privilege of laying a wreath at the final resting place of his son, our leader and brother Jacob Oulanya. May the souls of the departed find everlasting peace. Indeed. All right, NBS Live at 9 takes a break. We have more stories coming your way. Don't touch your remote.
When you don't use Momo, you get unwanted surprises. Save yourself from unwanted surprises. Use the Momo app or dial *165*3# to pay and enjoy zero charges below 5K. That's the power of Momo.
Cooking all that makes food sweet. Tastes so good like mama's keys. Sweet Tamasana, yeah. Stir gold, it's the oil you cooking oil for a tasty meal to live a healthy, happy life. Stir gold, refined, fortified, blended pure vegetable cooking oil, second best to a mother's love.
Your uncle wants you to get a loan. He says you should buy a Beamer to stop embarrassing him in front of his friends with your malnourished car. That you should buy one of those expensive shirts they call Versace, so that people stop spreading rumors that his family has no style. That you need an iPhone because he's tired of biting his tongue whenever he tries to pronounce that funny thing you're holding. Good thing you've got ABSA. Our loans are not designed for others to change what they say about you. They are designed to support your growth. Visit absa.co.ug for personal loans that help where it matters. ABSA, your story matters.
The elections are over, but our journey as a united nation continues. Democracy is more than casting a vote. It thrives in our everyday actions and how we treat each other. We may have different opinions, but we all share one country. Each of us, leaders, security agencies, and citizens, has a role in building our nation. Peace does not happen by chance. It is a choice we make together. Let's move forward with unity, respect, and open dialogue. A peaceful Uganda needs all of us. Tuongea, let's talk peace.
You will always know when you're in the presence of the finest. It's like time slows down, just enough for you to feel everything in full flavor.
Just Malt Lager. Alcohol is not for certain persons under 18. Please drink responsibly.
It's back, bigger, and with more business opportunities. It's the Pearl of Africa Tourism Expo, Poate 2026, Uganda's flagship tourism event. Poate 2026 will take place from the 21st to the 23rd of May 2026 at the Speak Resort Convention Center, Munyonyo, under the theme Wanderlust. It's your time to thrive. Yes, it's your time to tap into Uganda's renewed optimism and tourism growth. Tourism stakeholders, travel trade partners, and tourism enthusiasts will be part of the Poate 2026. Come and network with like-minded people and unlock new business opportunities. To participate, register at www.poate.co.ug. Poate 2026 is brought to you by Uganda Tourism Board and partners.
Start something new, something uplifting, something so effortless and golden. A thirst-quenching burst of sweetness and malty flavor, so rich and full of memories. It's 100% taste, zero alcohol. Try it, savor it, feel it elevate every moment. Sip after sip, gulp after gulp. After all, life's about turning ordinary thrills into golden chills.
Start something malty with the new Evervest Malt Apple and Pineapple. Try the burst of sweetness and malty flavor. It's 100% taste, zero alcohol. Available in a shop or supermarket near you. Evervest Malt. Make every moment golden. Evervest Malt is from the makers of PepsiCo.
The Housing Finance Bank Zimba Challenge is here.
A home is a source of dignity. Very many people live their entire lives struggling to build their own home. Many cannot afford a mortgage. They cannot build incrementally because they do not have any savings left over after paying all their bills. We are offering a solution that allows for locally sourced materials. We do compressed earth blocks. Like you see, these blocks are really solid. It's 90% soil, 10% mix of cement and lime. The soil is sourced from the site. So we do a ratio of about 4 to 5, 1 bag of cement and 1 bag of lime. And when I say 4 or 5, those are wheelbarrows.
Doesn't that push the costs a bit higher compared to what you're mentioning?
No, it does not, because if you see this kind of finish on this, you really do not need to plaster. You can just apply a sealant and that house will be ready for occupancy.
Does the brick pass for the foundation, or you have to do some waterproofing around it?
We've had conversations around waterproofing the block, but because it's not tested, we do not want to rely on it. We've worked over the years with international architects, civil engineers, designers to try and see how to bring this technology to Uganda, and I'm glad to say that we are ready to roll.
Let's rethink housing. Let's rebuild Uganda. Let's Zimba together.
Hey, travelers! Are you a family gearing up for that big vacation, a hustler working abroad coming home, or your squad chasing sunsets and passport stamps? It's time you lock in. Say goodbye to long airport queues, shocking roaming bills, and the stress of hunting for local SIM cards, because now you can travel like a local. Stay connected in over 180 countries. Just scan, tap, and boom! Instant data the moment you reach your destination. Get your Rogue Travel eSIM today at travel.roguetelcom.co.ug. Contact us on 020-500-123.
Geologists have raised concern over emerging cracks and sinking sections along the Chikorongo-Kasese Road that continues to worsen, linking the damage to underlying seismic fault lines. Experts warn that the situation is more serious than it appears, calling for urgent investigation before it worsens.
What may appear as ordinary wear and tear on one of Kasese's key roads is now drawing the attention of geoscientists who say the problem runs far deeper beneath the surface. According to geoscientist Alex Akwatampora, the visible cracks stretching across sections of the Chikorongo-Kasese Road are not just construction defects but indicators of active seismic fault lines in the area.
The fault is widening. It's an old major fault that runs from Chikorongo all the way and terminates somewhere near Kasese. So it is so active.
It is this underground instability that is now manifesting on the road, with sections developing long cracks and noticeable depressions, some of which continue to widen with time.
The sinking of the road or the widening of the gap of the fault area is not one of the major issues, is not seated on the major fault zone, probably an adjacent fault or a sympathetic fault or something, but then more studies must be done in that area. They should not ignore it. Initially, people thought it is normal cracking of the road. No, this is bigger than what people think.
Akwatampora warns that any ongoing or future developments along these fault lines could be at great risk, describing the area as a time bomb waiting to explode if ignored.
Those who have built along that fault line should actually vacate that area and build elsewhere, because one day it will be so bad. I might be alive by then or not. It might take many years, but it is a time bomb in waiting.
He is now calling for a comprehensive geological study to clearly map out the fault lines and guide safer infrastructure planning.
What we have to do is a deliberate plan to ask government. We do geophysical surveys. We do what we call seismic refraction surveys, and then we see how deep this fault is, and then we monitor its movement.
Meanwhile, attention is also turning to accountability. District leaders now want to establish whether the contractor responsible for the road is still within the liability period, which would require them to carry out repairs at their own cost.
Once the liability period expires and there has been full handover, if there is any other damage or any other crack or whatever, it becomes a role of the owner. And who is the owner of the roads you are talking about? Ministry of Works and Transport.
As investigations are being called for, residents and road users are left navigating a route that is increasingly becoming unsafe, with fears that without urgent intervention, the damage could escalate further.
For years, life in the Karamoja sub-region was defined by hunger and malnutrition. Today, that narrative is slowly changing. Across many households, families are now producing enough food for their own consumption, steadily pushing hunger into the past. Nowhere is this shift more visible than in Abim district, where farmers are embracing commercial livestock and commercial agriculture, from livestock rearing to fruit farming, vegetable growing and tree planting.
For decades, hunger and malnutrition defined life in Karamoja, but today a quiet transformation is taking shape, one that is turning the region from a symbol of food insecurity into a model of resilience and productivity. Across many households, families are now producing enough food for their own consumption, steadily pushing hunger into the past. In Abim district, the shift is even more visible. Farmers are increasingly embracing commercial agriculture, investing in livestock, food farming, vegetables and tree growing.
And we have farmers doing maize in large scale. We have farmers doing coffee in large scale. We have farmers doing soybeans in large scale.
In Kiru Town Council, one farmer is leading by example. Godfrey Wachara is putting government's presidential 4-acre model into practice.
Here I practice, so we now have peace. We really have to go down to produce food for both home consumption and majorly the one for money.
On his farm, Wachara rears chicken and pigs for sale, while his orchard boasts a variety of fruit trees already supplying local fruit industries. In a bold experiment, he is also piloting apple farming, the first in Karamoja.
I'm now trying to plant also the apple, the lemons, I have oranges, mangoes, the sweet oranges. I have various Brazil type, and we have pawpaws, I have guavas, I have the sweet apples.
Beyond farming, Wachara is promoting environmental conservation through tree planting, helping to restore the region's ecosystem. At the border with the Acholi sub-region, another farmer is breaking new ground. In Kanu sub-county, retired soldier Paul Omara has ventured into dragon fruit farming, introducing yet another high-value crop to the region.
The district agricultural officer contacted me because of my commitment that I can do, and he brought the staff of Naro.
Along Abim Soroti Road, Korea Dick Ogira is already reaping big from his orchard in Abuk Town Council, earning millions and proving that Karamoja can be just as agriculturally productive as other parts of Uganda. His success story even featured in national campaign narratives of President Museveni, showcasing the region's untapped agricultural potential.
The mango trees I planted in Arangetoy were given to me by the President of the Republic of Uganda. I received the seedlings in 2017. After 6 years, I started harvesting. The first harvest, I got 6 million shillings.
The transformation is not limited to individuals. Groups of youth in Abim have come together to embrace mechanized farming using walking tractors supplied by the Ministry of Agriculture. They now offer affordable land plowing services to fellow farmers, opening up more land for cultivation.
I'm proud of this hand walking tractor because it is helping the community of Abim as well as Abuk Town Council.
Even public servants are joining the movement. The Abim District State Attorney, who also dabbles as a farmer, says he is now earning significantly from commercial agriculture, growing crops such as maize, simsim and soybeans.
I work here as a state attorney, but I have taken agriculture as an extra activity. I'm now planting soya because it's one, weather resistant.
We have seen Abim having one of the best farmers cooperative in the whole of Karamoja, and that is Abim West Farmers Cooperative. They were able to bulk about 500 metric tons of maize.
What is emerging is a new narrative from food aid dependency to food production. Karamoja is steadily turning green, driven by innovation, determination, and the new generation of farmers rewriting the region's story.
Sugarcane farmers in Soga have rejected a government plan to remove community weighbridges used in the sale of cane. The move follows a directive by Prime Minister Robin Anabanja ordering the immediate closure of all such facilities across the country, citing security concerns.
In In recent years, weighbridges have been set up across villages, helping farmers cut transport costs from their gardens to sugar factories. However, on 17th this month, a letter authored by the Prime Minister Robina Nabanja directing the immediate closure of these weighbridges has caused tension among sugarcane farmers. Government argues that some of the facilities have been giving inaccurate measurements and have contributed to rising cases of sugarcane theft in the region.
But
during a meeting at Kagoma in Jinja district, farmers voiced strong opposition to the directive, saying the removal of the weighbridges will disrupt their operations.
His Excellency the President of Uganda gave a directive that weighbridges should stay. Now we are stuck. We don't know who is who. The Prime Minister and the President, who is the boss?
They are providing ready market to the sugar growers. You grow while knowing where you are going to take.
Representatives on the Sugar Council have assured farmers that the matter will be raised with Minister David Bahati in a meeting scheduled for tomorrow.
We came to the community to inform them about whatever is happening and to also seek their views so that the same views can be taken back to the council, so that while the country and government is taking a decision, they put into consideration views of all stakeholders.
The act was made, the regulations were made, but the only section that is causing all this is number 26. It says all cane supplied shall be weighed at licensed premises. These are regulations that were made by the minister without consulting the farmers. Even the millers were not consulted. And we were told as council that before these regulations are implemented, we should review them. Something that has not been done. And the Prime Minister has gone ahead to quote the same regulation.
However, there are claims that some large sugar millers are backing the move to eliminate the community weighbridges, arguing that they reduce the volume of cane delivered to factories, as some companies operate their own village-based weighing points.
As Christians mark the final days of the Lent season, church leaders are calling for reflection, discipline and active participation in Holy Week activities. These describe the Lent season as a period that traces the journey of Jesus Christ from suffering to resurrection, marked by daily observances and symbolic church traditions.
As Christians approach the end of the Lenten season, leaders from the different Christian denominations have explained the meaning of Holy Week to believers. They note that the Holy Week begins on Palm Sunday and runs through to Easter Sunday. According to the Assistant Cathedral Administrator of Lubaga, Father Marvin Luchamuzi, each day of the week carries specific religious observances and significance. For instance, from Monday to Wednesday, Christians reflect on the events that led to the death of Jesus Christ, including the betrayal and the plot against him.
Holy Week begins on Palm Sunday. We celebrated it yesterday. It begins then. Then on Monday to Wednesday, the church now begins giving us the readings that show the plot of the betrayal of Jesus that leads to his arrests on Holy Thursday.
He explained that the period from Thursday to Easter Sunday is the most significant as it encompasses the most important liturgical celebrations. These include the washing of feet in remembrance of Jesus' act of humility, the consecration of holy oils to be used in church sacraments throughout the year, the way of the cross, which commemorates Jesus' journey to crucifixion, and the celebration of the resurrection of Jesus Christ.
Holy Thursday, where we will be celebrating the Lord's Supper, and Friday it will be the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, and Saturday it will be a day of waiting. Saturday we shall be waiting for the Jesus' resurrection. Then on Easter Sunday, then we shall see the resurrection of Jesus Christ.
During this period, the liturgical colors used in churches also change, each carrying symbolic meaning tied to events being commemorated. For example, red is used to signify the suffering and sacrifice of Jesus Christ, purple represents penance and repentance, while white symbolizes victory, joy. And the resurrection of Christ.
Holy Monday to Holy Wednesday, the color is the same, it's purple, the same color that we've been using throughout the whole Lenten season, a color that shows repentance, a color that shows renewal of life.
So red, it is a sign of the blood of Jesus Christ, that he poured for us, mankind. So that's the color that we use. On Easter, we are going to see ourselves using white color. White means purity, cleanliness.
Religious leaders are urging Christians to remain disciplined, steadfast in faith, and to use this period for self-reflection. They also encourage full participation in Holy Week activities and services.
So we should always remember that through this Holy Week, the cross will stand out very vividly, and to remind all of us that we are supposed to carry our crosses, that through pain, then we'll be able to see glory. Through pain, we'll be able to see victory.
In our foreign news tonight, United States President Donald Trump has renewed his threat to blow up a range of civilian infrastructure in Iran, including all of the country's desalination plants, in a move that would threaten the water source for millions of people that experts say would be illegal. Trump has been regularly warning Iran about possible U.S. strikes against energy and electricity facilities, but he added water stations to the list of targets in his latest threat on Monday. Trump first issued a threat to target Iran's electrical grid and energy infrastructure on the 21st of March, while also giving Tehran a 48-hour deadline to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. president later pushed the deadline back by 5 days before extending it again until the 6th of April. Over the past week, Trump has insisted that Iran is begging to make a deal, and talks between Washington and Tehran are underway. While Tehran has acknowledged receiving a 15-point ceasefire proposal from Washington through intermediaries, several Iranian officials have denied direct negotiations with the U.S. Both Iran and the U.S. have suggested that they are winning the war, despite the killing of several top Iranian officials, including Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, by the U.S. and Israel. There is no public evidence to back Trump's claim that there is a new government in the country.
Did you know? Brought to you by
Fake spare parts can be deceiving. They seem cheaper, they seem good enough, they get you moving for now. But what you don't see is the hidden cost, damage to your car, endless repairs, wasted time off the road, and potential risk to lives. In the long run, fake parts cost you more. Choose genuine parts from any CFA or mobility location countrywide.
Did you know? Brought to you by
Well, I trust everyone is happy with the numbers. If we continue with the same tactics, we're definitely going to see more success.
Absolutely. I love the fact that you use the